The internet we use every day, Google, social media, online shopping is just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath it lies a vast digital underworld known as the dark web. Hidden from search engines and accessible only through specialized software. Like Tor, the dark web was originally developed to promote privacy, freedom of speech, and protection from surveillance. But over time, that noble foundation gave way to something far more complicated, often far more disturbing. This hidden part of the internet has become a mirror for humanity's darkest impulses. It's a place where lawlessness meets technology, where criminal empires thrive alongside whistleblower platforms, and where rumors of torture, assassination, and exploitation travel faster than fact. In this documentary-style breakdown, we'll journey through the most notorious, controversial, and unsettling websites that have ever appeared on the dark web. But we won't just sensationalize them, we'll place them in their historical context, connecting each story to real-world trends in warfare, propaganda, surveillance, ethics, and digital rebellion, from drug markets that redefine crime to whisper networks of unspeakable abuse. And from urban legends of red rooms to real-life operations that changed global law enforcement. The dark web is not just a digital curiosity, it is the front line of a modern ethical war. The origins of the dark web are rooted in a paradox. It was born out of a noble pursuit of privacy and security, but eventually became a breeding ground for some of the internet's darkest corners. In the mid-1990s, researchers at the U.S. Naval Research Laboratory developed a revolutionary method for anonymous communication online called onion routing. This system encrypted data in multiple layers and routed it through a series of volunteer-operated servers, masking the user's identity and location. The aim was to protect intelligence communications and allow dissidents in authoritarian regimes to communicate freely without being tracked. By the early 2000s, this technology evolved into Tor, the Onion Router, a freely available browser that could grant anyone access to the so-called dark web (FCA), hidden part of the internet not indexed by search engines. While the intentions behind Tor were often aligned with freedom of speech and privacy advocacy, it also opened a Pandora's box. As more people embraced the technology, so did criminal elements, leading to the creation of encrypted marketplaces, forums, and services that thrived in anonymity. The dark web quickly transformed from a digital haven for political activists and journalists to a shadowy space filled with illegal activities, ranging from drug trafficking to exploitation networks. One of the most historically significant sites to emerge from the dark web was Silk Road, launched in 2011 by Ross Ulbricht, who operated under the alias Dread Pirate Roberts. This site functioned as a decentralized, anonymous online marketplace, anonymous of illegal goods. Silk Road allowed users to purchase drugs, forged documents, hacking tools, and even services using Bitcoin, which offered further anonymity and a new model for underground economies. It didn't take long before Silk Road made headlines, both for the volume of its trade and for the philosophical debate it sparked. Was it simply a black market or a libertarian experiment challenging government control? The Silk Road's impact was profound. It forced governments around the world to confront the limitations of traditional law enforcement in the face of decentralized, encrypted digital platforms. In 2013, after an extensive investigation involving the FBI, DIRS, and other global agencies, Ulbricht was arrested in a San Francisco library. Authorities seized the site along with millions in Bitcoin. His trial not only exposed the inner workings of Silk Road, but also set a legal precedent for how governments would handle dark web crimes moving forward. The fall of Silk Road was a landmark moment. It marked the end of an era but also inspired a wave of copycat dark web markets, proving that the war between digital freedom and cybercrime was far from over. Among the most chilling legends of the dark web is a site known as the human experiment. While it's debated whether this site ever truly existed or was an elaborate hoax, its content and concept have burned themselves into internet folklore. Allegedly, the human experiment was a place where users could browse logs and photos of unethical medical procedures performed on human test subjects, ranging from unapproved drug trials to grotesque physical and psychological torture. Viewers could supposedly vote on what types of experiments would be done next, making it a horrifying crowd-controlled descent into bioethical collapse, even if fabricated. The legend draws terrifying parallels with real-world history. The site evoked images of Nazi doctors at Auschwitz, the Japanese Unit 731 experiments in World War II, and Cold War human testing by intelligence agencies. These moments in history, once confined to top-secret files or military archives, were now imagined to be accessible to anyone through a few encrypted clicks. The myth of the human experiment reflects one of the dark web's most disturbing truths, that anonymity can provide a veil not just for criminal behavior, but for a complete disintegration of morality, where the most extreme human rights violations are not only permitted but possibly encouraged. Another deeply disturbing corner of the dark web was dedicated to cannibalism, not as a fictional fetish, but allegedly as a community where individuals actively discussed, fantasized about, and even arranged real-life encounters based on mutual acts of human consumption. Among these forums, the most infamous was the so-called Cannibal Calf, where users from around the world shared detailed instructions on how to prepare human flesh, expressed their desire to be eaten, and in some horrifying cases exchanged personal ads to meat for consensual cannibalistic encounters. This concept, too, has roots in documented modern history. The most notorious case tied to such online forums is that of Armin Mays, the Rotenburg cannibal from Germany, who in 2001 killed and ate a willing victim he had met through a cannibalism website. The dark web allowed communities like these to flourish in secrecy, avoiding the gaze of conventional internet regulators and law enforcement. It showed how even the most taboo and abhorrent behaviors could find not only an outlet, but a like-minded community willing to normalize the unthinkable. The historical significance of these forums lies in their ability to bypass every societal, legal, and psychological barrier that civilization has built. In doing so, they force a reevaluation of how freedom, privacy, and moral restraint should be balanced in a digitally connected world. The fact that sites like Cannibal Calf even existed, whether on the surface or deep within the dark web, demonstrates how thin the line is between fantasy and horrifying reality in the digital age. One of the most persistent and terrifying legends surrounding the dark web is the concept of red rooms. Alleged live streams where viewers can pay in cryptocurrency to watch acts of torture or murder take place in real time. Supposedly, users could even vote on or suggest what the perpetrator should do to the victim next. These stories have become central to online horror lore, with countless forums, YouTube videos, and documentaries attempting to uncover whether red rooms are real or just an urban myth amplified by the mystery of the dark web. To this day, verified case of a red room has been publicly confirmed by authorities. While many sites have claimed to offer such content, most turned out to be elaborate scams, clickbait, or dead ends filled with malware. Still, the widespread belief in their existence speaks to a deeper societal fear that the internet has grown so powerful and anonymous that it could allow people to witness atrocities from the comfort of their homes, blurring the line between spectator and accomplice. Historically, a fascination with public violence isn't new. Gladiatorial combat in Rome, medieval public executions, and even the televised horrors of war have all served as forms of mass voyeurism. Red rooms, whether real or not, represent the digital evolution of that same primal curiosity toward suffering, amplified by modern technology and a complete collapse of moral accountability. Their existence, real or fabricated, forces us to examine not just the tools of the internet, but the darkness within the human psyche. while red rooms remain largely in the realm of speculation. Child exploitation networks on the dark web are a grim reality, arguably the most undeniably evil use of these hidden platforms. Sites like Lolita City, Playpen, and others catered to some of the most disturbing and criminal behaviors imaginable, involving the production, sharing, and distribution of child sexual abuse material, CSAM. Unlike drug markets or scam sites, these platforms couldn't be dismissed as morally gray. They were unequivocally monstrous. Law enforcement has responded with global operations that read like espionage thrillers. One of the most famous was Operation Pacifier in 2015-2016, where the FBI seized control of the Playpen website and ran it for weeks from a government server to track and arrest thousands of users worldwide. Agencies used advanced malware and hacking tools to pierce the anonymity of Tor, setting legal precedents for how digital rights and privacy are balanced against the imperative to protect children. Historically, crimes against children have often been the catalyst for broad legal and technological reforms. The dark web has forced governments, cybersecurity firms, and activists to work together in unprecedented ways. These takedowns aren't just about shutting down a website, they're about dismantling global trafficking rings that prey on the most vulnerable. More importantly, they highlight the dark web's most pressing contradiction. It can both empower whistleblowers and political dissidents, and simultaneously enable some of the worst human rights violations of the modern age. Perhaps one of the most sensational aspects of the dark web is the idea that you can hire a hitman anonymously using cryptocurrency. Dozens of dark web marketplaces have popped up claiming to offer murder-for-hire services with chilling names like Bessa Mafia and Cosa Nostra International. These sites advertise assassinations, kidnappings, acid attacks, and beatings as if they were menu items complete with pricing tiers, guarantees, and contact information. However, investigations have shown that most of these services are scams. Bessa Mafia, for instance, is run by a man in Eastern Europe who accepted Bitcoin payments but never followed through on any jobs. Despite the fraud, law enforcement has discovered real instances of people placing genuine orders to harm or kill. Others, in one case, a woman attempted to hire a hitman to kill her ex-husband through a dark web platform and paid in full only to later find out it was a con. Historically, assassinations have always been part of political intrigue and criminal enterprise. But the dark web has democratized access to that violence, allowing average people, jealous lovers, business rivals, or disturbed individuals to believe they can act out deadly fantasies in total secrecy. The rise of these marketplaces underscores a terrifying shift. Technology isn't just amplifying information, it's potentially turning anyone into a would-be killer, armed only with cryptocurrency and an internet connection, even when fake. The existence of these platforms reflects how dangerously easy it has become to imagine and pay for the unthinkable. As governments and corporations pushed extremist content off mainstream platforms, terrorist organizations turned to the dark web to spread their ideology, recruit followers, and distribute training materials. Groups like ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Boko Haram have used encrypted forums and hidden sites to release propaganda videos, while making manuals and strategies for lone wolf attacks. These materials are often uploaded in multiple languages, professionally produced and strategically timed to coincide with global events, unlike the flashy marketplaces or mythic red rooms. These platforms are systematic, patient, and deeply ideological. Terrorist operatives have created entire ecosystems where radicalization can occur in private, undetected by public surveillance. In some cases, extremists have used the dark web to crowdsource acts of terrorism, distributing tactical guides to inspire attacks without centralized command. This shift marks a dangerous evolution from the coordinated terror cells of the 1990s and early 2000s to a decentralized, digital insurgency capable of influencing isolated individuals across the world. Historically, Propaganda has always been a powerful weapon used by regimes, revolutionaries, and colonizers alike. But the dark web has given this weapon new reach and endurance. It allows terrorist ideologies to live in encrypted spaces, untouched by policies or corporate moderation. As governments struggle to regulate these platforms, the dark web becomes not just a threat to physical safety, but a challenge to national security, digital sovereignty, and global counterterrorism strategy. Not everything hidden in the dark web is sinister. In fact, some of the most impactful and controversial revelations of the 21st century were made possible because of the secure, anonymous tools offered by the dark web. Platforms like SecureDrop and GlobalX were developed to allow whistleblowers, journalists, and activists to exchange sensitive information safely. These sites became critical conduits for exposing government corruption, corporate abuse, mass surveillance, and human rights violations, especially in authoritarian regimes. One of the most notable examples is Edward Snowden, who used encrypted communication tools to leak documents about the NSA's global surveillance programs to journalists. While Snowden didn't post directly on the dark web, as actions amplified the importance of having anonymous secure channels for whistleblowers. Similarly, WikiLeaks, which at one point maintained a dark web mirror, published troves of classified material that forever changed the public's understanding of international politics, warfare, and diplomacy. This reveals the morally gray reality of the dark web. While it harbors disturbing and illegal content, it also provides a digital sanctuary for those seeking justice, reform, or transparency. Historically, whistleblowers have faced imprisonment, exile, or even death for their actions. The dark web offers these individuals a fighting chance away to expose truth in a world increasingly dominated by state surveillance, censorship, and algorithmic control. However, it also sparks critical questions. Where should the line be drawn between freedom of speech and national security? Who decides what truth should be revealed or hidden? Governments around the world have waged an ongoing battle against the dark web's most dangerous elements. Since the takedown of Silk Road in 2013, there has been a series of high-profile operations targeting illegal marketplaces and forums. Sites like Alphabay, Hansa, and Wall Street Market were infiltrated, seized, and their operators arrested through complex international collaboration. These victories prove that, while anonymous, the dark web is not untouchable. Yet with each takedown, new markets rise from the ashes. Often more sophisticated, decentralized, and harder to track. Law enforcement agencies now use blockchain analysis, tools, artificial intelligence, and even offensive cyber tactics to hunt criminals in the hidden layers of the internet. Meanwhile, the debate continues over how to balance privacy rights with security efforts, especially as authoritarian governments push for more control over encrypted platforms. The future of the dark web is both uncertain and deeply consequential. It sits at the intersection of technological freedom and human depravity, offering a mirror to the best and worst parts of society. As digital surveillance increases and privacy erodes on the surface web, the dark web may become not just a hideout for criminals, but a refuge for dissidents, journalists, and everyday people seeking autonomy in a hyper-connected world. From its origins in military research to its role in modern crime and digital resistance, the dark web tells a story not just of technology, but of human nature. It's not simply a place, it's a battlefield for freedom, secrecy, power, and control in the digital age. The stories you've heard, the marketplaces, the myths, the crimes, the courage are not just isolated fragments of internet history. They form a chilling portrait of how human behavior evolves when given total freedom and total anonymity. The dark web is often painted as a lawless abyss, and in many cases it is. But it is also a space where political resistance, digital rights, and ethical whistleblowing have found refuge. Historically, we've seen how new technologies open doors to both enlightenment and exploitation. The printing press enabled knowledge and heresy. Radio enabled both education and propaganda. The internet, especially the dark web, follows the same pattern. It has empowered activists and criminals alike. It has liberated truth and incubated horror. And as we move into an era of AI surveillance, biometric tracking, and cyber warfare, the dark web might evolve yet again, either deeper into darkness or as a last stand for digital privacy. The real question isn't just what's on the dark web. It's what it reveals about us. 'Cause at its core, the dark web isn't a place. It's a reflection, okay? And what we choose to build or destroy in that reflection will shape the future of freedom, security, and morality in the digital age.